Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, my friends, a very important broadcast today. In the last 30 minutes, economist Webster Griffin Tarpley joins us to give us his take on what happened Thursday with a 1,000-point drop. It has now been confirmed by the major stock exchanges. It was not a fat finger. It was not just a single trade. It was now more than 20 stocks that were simultaneously affected. And the evidence is pointing towards massive European sell-offs and a true plunge that began in the markets. And then the plunge protection team set up by Ronald Reagan to stop stock market crashes in 1987 kicked in. The President's Working Committee on Open Markets is its technical name. Plunge protection team is the slang or street term for it. Kicked in to stop that from happening. Though there's some evidence it may have been J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs black box insider trading. We'll cover that in the last 30 minutes of this radio broadcast coming up today. In fact, here's the Hill newspaper. White House doesn't rule out sabotage in Thursday's wild Wall Street plunge. Now they're saying it could have been a cyber attack, so don't worry. The government and the FCC can start regulating and tracking and shutting down freedom on the web. Here's another one. Plunge in U.S. equities remains a mystery. Financial Times of London. New York Times. Greek debt crisis raises doubts about the European Union. EU preps Euro fund to fight Wolfpack debt crisis. They're worried about the markets opening in just about 6 hours in Europe and a Black Monday globally, melting down the stock market. This is a serious week to watch the financial developments. Here's another headline, Wall Street Journal. Crisis deepens, chaos grips Greece. So that's coming up in the last 30 minutes of the broadcast today. But before I get into that issue, sometimes every few months we have a special broadcast where I'll say, I only want to hear from police officers and military. We have this Army Times article where they're training 400,000 troops for domestic operations and gun confiscation. Please call in and tell us what your training has been like and what you think of it. We've done that from time to time. Or I'll say during the flu hysteria, open phones only for doctors and nurses and medical people to get your take on what's happening. Well, today, we're only going to take calls from Hispanics. And you can be Latinos, whatever term you like. You can be in Mexico, you can be in Brazil, you can be in the U.S., you can be in Germany, you can be in Canada, you can be in Russia, whatever. The 600-plus million Hispanics in the world are welcome to call in to this radio show on the topic I'm about to put out there, because I really want to hear from you. I really want to understand your view on what's going on and what's happening. Now, you'll have to hold for a couple segments because I have to go over all this information first and then get your view on it. But let me give you the toll-free number to join us on this live Sunday, the 9th day of May 2010 edition, 888-201-2244, 888-201-2244. And you can disagree with what I'm going to say. You can agree. You can add points. But really, I just want the truth. Not just your views, but what you hear in your community. Because my wife lived many years in Spain, so she speaks Spanish. And let me tell you, she's got an inside view of what's really being said by a lot of people. And my cousin grew up in Guatemala, and he speaks fluent Spanish. It's really his first language. I've been on road trips with him before and heard him, in the bed next to me, in the hotel room, the twin bed across from me. Somebody starts speaking in Spanish, and I wake up, and believe me, as a bartender in college, he heard the animosity and the hatred by some Hispanics toward gringos, but not just towards gringos, the slang term for black people in Spanish that translates into English into blackbird. And this is something in this politically correct society that is just acceptable. I mean, no other group gets away with stuff like this. If when whites come out and spew a bunch of racial hatred, they get slapped down for it, and they should. Blacks to a lesser extent, but they still do. I mean, mildly racist stuff from Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton gets exposed. I want to live in peace with everybody, and I don't have any guilt either. I don't even want to get up here and say I have lots of Hispanic friends, and, you know, I like Hispanics, and I have a lot of Hispanic folks that work in my office with me. I don't even want to say that like I'm having to prove myself. I know who I am. I know what my views are, and I discovered this was going on in high school because my white teachers taught me white people were bad and America was bad and that the United States had stolen part of Mexico. And then when I was in college, I was taught this. And then I began to go to Mecha and La Raza rallies and watch videos of their leaders. And literally, we have hundreds and hundreds of these videos. There's several new ones that have come out from these La Raza, which means the race. For those in the race, everything. For those outside the race, nothing. And the Fortune 500 funds these groups. The media funds it. Comedy Central chooses to give shows to people that have very racist programs where it's all about stirring up racial division and attacking white people. And I, for one, am sick of it. I am sick and tired of it. But what's gotten me upset? In the last few weeks, we've seen police being attacked in Arizona and illegal alien supporters and illegals saying, we'll use our pickaxes on you, we'll kill you. And it's nationally blacked out on the news, never made national news. I've seen footage out of Santa Cruz a week and a half ago, or I guess 9 days ago, it was on May Day, of illegal alien supporters burning restaurants with people in them. They narrowly escaped. Torches in the streets, and then ABC News locally said, well, they've got a reason to be angry with this Arizona law. And I've seen the Arizona law misrepresented by the media. So the corporate media is driving this and pushing this and implying that all Hispanics aren't wanted in America and really adding fuel to all of this tension. Then I saw a video yesterday. It's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. L.A. teacher calls for Mexican revolt in U.S. And this is at a big rally, and he talks about disgusting white people, and he talks about how it's a communist takeover, and he's honest. He says, these old white people don't really dislike us because we're brown. They don't like us because we're communist. And that's what I've said. I've said, I want to know. I want people to run a flag up. Because if you're brown and love America and the Second Amendment and private property, well, I'll just love you to death and hug all over you. And, you know, I got 2 white daughters. I'm not going to get upset if they decide to marry a Hispanic American if they're a patriot. You know, if my daughters someday bring home a white guy who's a communist, I'm going to throw him the hell out of my house. And if they bring a brown guy home who's a communist, I'm going to tell my daughters that I'm going to ostracize them, shun them, disown them. If they marry... If my daughters brought home a Klan member, it'd be the same thing. I am not going to be part of this. I am not going to support this. I'm done. I'm through. I'm finished. And I'm coming out against it. You know, I'm somebody who has been attacked by the Ku Klux Klan. I'm somebody who's protested them, a bunch of federal agents on average. And, you know, that was back 10, 15 years ago. I probably haven't gone out and protested the Klan in about 8 years. I don't do a lot of protests, period. I don't have time. But, you know, the Klan, maybe 100,000 people. This Mecha La Raza thing is in the tens of millions. And what's happening is there's this intimidation against Hispanic Americans that they are they have a Spanish term for it. And what is it, a pocho, or it's in Spanish, basically a Uncle Tom. And they attack Hispanics and call them sellouts if they fly an American flag at their house or business, or if they're not a communist, or if they're pro-Second Amendment. And this was illustrated by the school kids, 5 of them being kicked out of school in San Francisco. 3 of the 5 were Hispanic, by the way, not allowed to wear American flags. It was offensive to the Mexicans who don't want to be Americans. They're Mexicans. And we're going to be discussing all of this today. And we're going to go over Robert Rodriguez's new film, Machete, that is invoking race war. This is so important. Stay with us.